Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our live webinar of eIMMIGRATION. My name is Vanessa Vargas. On behalf of Cerenade, I want to welcome you today. Today, we're doing a very basic training of the general basic steps, and we're going to have a Q&A. So I hope you have your questions ready. We did receive questions when you guys register. Some of them are too broad, like basic overview on how to use Serenade or everything that has to do with billing. So I'm going to try to cover all those. But if you have questions as we um, cover the material today, then please message me your questions. That's the reason why we're here. Okay. All right. So let's begin. You should be able to see my screen. And also, this is being recorded. We record all of our webinars and we have them available in our YouTube channel. Also, I am sharing my PowerPoint presentation with you. So if you click on handouts, you can download it. It has these useful links that you can share with your team. This is a very basic, again, PowerPoint presentation. You can always find these links in our user's guide anyways. But again, today we're going to cover just the basic steps and we're going to have a Q&A. All right, so let's begin. I'm going to switch gears and take you to the caseworker portal. If you're new and you haven't taken your training yet, I highly recommend you do. Schedule your private training sessions and know that if you go to youtube.com and search for our channel, it's eIMMIGRATION Academy, you're gonna find tons of videos here. Some of them, again, like basic training for new users, administrator portal settings. So that's gonna give you, again, an idea before you schedule your private sessions. All right, so let's begin. Let me, okay. So the basic steps that we normally cover, especially for those who are new, are the following. If you start by creating a contact, it could be a prospect or an active client. You want to create a contact so that you enter their information, but also track notes and reminders. So you must have a contact profile. Once you create the contact profile, by the way, notice that the system can auto-generate the client number. So it's really up to you. It's going to look like this. Let me open one. So here's the account for one of my clients. I can enter the information this way. Always save your changes, because if you don't save the changes and you move to a different section, you're going to lose that information. Okay, so just be aware of that. This is one way of entering data. If you go field by field and then again save changes, then switch to the right hand side, you have other sections to complete: biographic info, her address info, history, etc. So I have everything organized. If I go to the specific section and I can just enter the information, and this information is what transfers to forms. This is what auto-populates the forms. So make sure that you enter as much information as possible when you create the account. Now, I'm gonna show you how to use the alternate view, because sometimes if your clients are not tech savvy and you can't send them a questionnaire, at least you can complete the questionnaire on their behalf by opening the intake forms via alternate view. So if I want to complete, for example, trying to find one, like the 589 questionnaire. So I can open that and ask my clients to respond to these questions, and I'll just enter the information and save it to the system. This is what transfers to the forms, okay? Every time you guys use the alternate view, make sure that you also save your changes before you move to a different section. For example, I'm going to open one that's a general information questionnaire for individual client. And again, it's showing me what I already have in the system. I like this feature a lot because I can print it and I can give them a paper with everything I have captured, have them sign and confirm everything is okay before I start working with the forms. Okay, so this is a way for you to capture the information and save so that it stays in the system. If you enter information and you don't save and you try to close, that's the only time when you get a warning that says you have unsaved changes. Are you sure you want to close the form without them, without saving? But if I switch to a different intake form, I don't get that warning and I will lose that information. Look, see, it's gone. So just be careful. Anytime that you guys enter data, always save your changes before you move to a different profile, a different intake. All right, so as I said, step number one of those basic steps is creating the contact profile. Even if it's just for a prospect, you want to create a contact so that you can track every encounter, notes, uh, any phone call, just um, write it here under your logs or create a reminder for following up for a consultation appointment, things like that. All right, so step number two is when you link the family members. Now, if you are creating an employment-based case, the process is it's pretty much the same. You want to create a contact for the business client, and it's going to look like this. Let me just clarify that. For a business client, you still want to create a contact profile, and it looks like this. And this contact profile, again, you can either enter the information manually or you can also send them a questionnaire. Today, I'm not going to cover how to send or receive questionnaires. We have done trainings like that in the past where we show you how to customize your intake forms, how to send them, how the data populates once the questionnaire is approved or accepted. So you are more than welcome to watch those videos in our YouTube channel. All right, so let me see. Any questions at this point? Please message me and let me know, okay? You can chat me your questions. All right, so step number two is when you link the family members. If it's an employment-based case, then the members are the signatories or the employees or HR reps. So you want to connect them as well by linking the members. And it's a lot easier to find someone by just typing the name. You can just type the name of the person and find the contact. You could also type the relationship like signatory, and I can just find all the signatories. So I highly recommend that you enter the information and link them so the system can auto-populate their data as well. Let's talk about an individual client for a family-based case. So you create their contact and then go to members and link the family members, such as the children or spouse or a joint sponsor or parents. You want to connect them as members because even though they're not your clients, they're going to be present on forms and you need their data, even if it's just the name, last name, date of birth, place of birth. So click link member and search for their, which most likely you won't have them in the system yet. So if you don't have them in the system to search, then create. At the bottom, it says new contact. You want to click new contact and create their contact. But my suggestion is that you don't generate a number for them because they're not a client, or at least not yet. So enter the information for that contact and then select the relationship. This is the daughter, this is a spouse, like how are they related to my client? And then once you select that and click link, you're gonna see them connected already as members. This is super helpful and useful because when you get to the forms, their data also transfers over to the corresponding section. And the system knows if the form says children info goes here, then if you do have a client with daughter or son or stepson, it will transfer their data as well. If you click on the link, obviously it's going to take you to that contact's profile. Like Adamari Marie, she's the daughter, and I have her information. I could also save time by entering, for example, the same address as the mother by clicking here, copy from. So instead of me typing the same US residence address, I can just copy from the mother's profile. Same thing with mailing address. Copy from US address, US residence address. Anyway, so excuse me. So you are going to save a lot of time by organizing your practice and linking the corresponding members. It's a lot easier and trust me, a lot faster than typing the info over and over and over again in multiple forms. It's also helpful because if you run a report, you can see how many children each person has. You can run a report to know, if maybe someone needs to, and we can talk about reports if you guys have questions about that, but I highly recommend that you organize yourself by entering the information in the system and not the forms. Okay. All right. So step number 3, after you have created the contact and you enter data, after you link the members and you enter their data, that's when you create the case. This is the actual matter or the process, the service. So you always have to go through this case wizard tool. This case wizard will help you, step by step so that you can create the case correctly. Let's talk about the different elements about the, case creation process. So department is your location. We have clients that are preparers that are independent contractors for multiple attorneys. So you can have more than one department to separate cases by location, by different law firms. Okay. You may also customize the type of matters or processes. In fact, if you haven't done this, I highly recommend you do it because your staff is probably wasting time searching for a process that you can move all the way up in your maybe top 10, top 20 processes list. That it's something you do from the administrative portal. If you are new or you're probably not allowed to go into the admin section or the admin portal, talk to the right person and let them know, hey, can we rearrange or can we disable the ones we don't need? Let me show you really quick what I am talking about. Let me go into the admin. In fact, if you're new, I recommend that you keep your admin portal side by side because you're going to realize like, oh, I don't have this or I'm missing this. I don't need this. So you can just switch to the other tab and change whatever you need to change. This admin portal is just for settings and customizations. So you might as well use it so that you can make this eIMMIGRATION your own system. So what I'm talking about is here, case processes. Your case processes or the type of services or matters, think of it like a bundle. If I look at this adjustment of status, one step, family based, I can customize the forms, the steps, the documents, every element about this bundle or this process package. It shows me what forms I will see. I can delete a form that I don't need, or I can add a form that I need. So again, if you are a paralegal maybe and you don't need a G28 or, you can just customize your forms checklist. On the right hand side, you can customize the steps or your timeline, the workflow. In other words, your to-do list. What do we have to do when it comes to an adjustment of status? How many days per task or step? So this is your timeline or workflow. For each process, you can have your documents checklist. In fact, I recommend creating your own list with both, let's say, English and Spanish, so that I can share with my clients and they can upload their own evidence. You have questionnaires, checklist, letter templates, billing, and so forth. So again, my recommendation is, hey, if you go to your admin and you click on case processes and you see something you don't need, for example, let's say we don't do O1s, O1A, or O1B. I can click edit and disable it. That way, this is not going to show up for my paralegals on my caseworker portal. In the future, if I need that type of matter, then I can just enable it. So my recommendation also is, hey, if you need, for example, that N400, I'm just gonna search for that matter and say it's all the way at the bottom. So let me just move that to a specific position like number 2. That way, if I do citizenships or naturalization cases, I want to move the N400 all the way up, I can have that. And again, make sure that it's enabled. Case process with this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So let me just call it test. Anyway, so let me know if you guys have any questions on how to maximize the, you know, the investment if you modify or customize the system by going into the admin portal. Let's go back. I'm in the process of showing you how to create a case, which is the third step of those basic steps that I'm covering. So number one is, again, like I said, department or location, the type of matter or process. And all of these drop-down menus that you see here can be customized. You can have different program types, different categories. Also, your information as the attorney who's going to transfer to forms can be customized. So you can have, like I said, more than one attorney and then choose on a case-by-case basis whose data will transfer to forms just by checking the box, or the interpreter too. And this is very important. When you create a case, let me explain. If it's an employment-based case, then you have to choose employer. Do not select petitioner, okay? Let me say that again. If it's employment-based, choose employer, not petitioner. Why? Because by choosing employer, I am allowed to select the branch and the signatory. That way, again, on a case-by-case basis, I can choose the signatory or the branch for the corporation or the sponsoring employer. If it's a family-based case, let me remove this. For example, Valeria is a petitioner, then I can choose petitioner, okay? For the applicant or the beneficiary, even though we do have beneficiary here, my recommendation is that you choose alien. Why? Because the forms say alien info goes here. So I might as well just redirect this information, the applicant's information, to that section of the form where it says alien. If I choose beneficiary, it won't transfer his data until I click on his name. So I'm just trying to save you a couple of clicks. So I'll just choose alien, and for her, petitioner. The rest of the members, because they have been linked, they show up here, but it doesn't mean that they're part of the case. So just leave them blank. Do not assign them a role, unless, of course, they do play a role like a derivative or a beneficiary. I'll click next. Let me know if you guys have any questions at this point, okay? This is optional, where you can choose a setting. This is a conditional rule, meaning if you forget to select a value, it's going to remind you. And like I said, I have the forms checklist by default. I can always modify it. So let's create the case. You can tell right away because it does show like the type of process, a case number. So this is a different window than the contact profile. So make sure that you know the difference. Look, if I click on her name, in fact, I recommend you do that so that you can open her profile and see her database with all the information that I have captured. Whereas over here, I have the case profile with the forms that I'm going to need, the steps that I'm going to cover, the documents I need to gather, etc. So let me know if you have any questions. In fact, let me ask you if those basic 3 steps were clear to you. Please vote on your. All right, we have a poll in progress. Just participate and click to let me know if you have questions about those 3 steps, or we can move forward. All right, I'm just gonna close since I've got 74% of the votes, and all of you said yes. Awesome. Yay. Happy Friday indeed. All right, so I do want to show you, let me make sure you guys can see my screen again. I do want to show you now how the data transfers, how we auto-populate the forms, and what are those form tools. And then we're going to do our Q&A, okay? So let's go back. Now that we have the information gathered in the corresponding sections, now remember, you can either send them a questionnaire so they can complete this information online. You can even print it so they can write it on a piece of paper and bring it back. You can use the alternate view. You can also capture the information on all of these fields. Anyway, so the idea is that you capture as much info as possible. And like I said, try to keep it organized by going into the corresponding section. If there's no section for what you want to capture, we always have the option to create a custom field. Custom fields are something you must create from the administrator portal. But I love this feature because I can utilize the system as a CRM. I can ask my prospects, hey, how did you hear about us? What service do you need? Are you tech savvy? Do you have a computer at home? Blah, blah, blah. So these questions that you can create, organize them, and even map or transfer to forms, it's doable. You know, you can just create custom fields. And again, for those who are not new and you want to watch those videos, just go to youtube.com, search for eIMMIGRATION Academy. We have done sessions on how to create questionnaires, how to create those custom fields. Yeah, there are a lot of videos and resources available for you here. All right, so let's go back. Let me close this and open her account. Okay, so now what I did once I created the case, I clicked on the main party link. Why is it the main party? A lot of people ask, well, when you create the case and you select the case parties, the person who's linked here as a main role or who's being represented is it's really up to you. I mean, it's usually the applicant, right? Who's getting the benefit. Um, and so the main role or the represented, whoever's the main party, when you create documents or sometimes when it says individual client, it goes to that person. I'll show you right now what I'm talking about, like letter template, for example, if I choose a role and it doesn't say alien or petitioner, if it says just individual client, it means that it's referring to the main party, right? So that's why it's important to know. And also, I noticed, was it yesterday, I think, that if you unlink and you remove this, be careful because then it's going to be uh, unassigned, I guess. You can have processes that don't have a case party if you unlink them. So just be careful because then you have to figure out who is this case for, who it belongs to. All right, so let's talk about the forms and how forms auto-populate. Okay, let me open the I-130. And I hope your internet connection goes faster than mine. All right, so here we go. The form has on the left-hand side an indicator that says the petitioner info goes here. And it did. It's right here. Let's take a look at page 5. That's the reason why I said to select alien instead of beneficiary. Let me make sure that you guys can see my screen. Yes. Okay. So if I choose beneficiary and the form says alien, nothing will transfer until you click here, select, replace, and then you click on his name. It's going to say beneficiary right here. So that's why I was saying that you might as well just pick alien so his information transfers right away. Let's talk about the different tools and how the forms auto-populate. It populates because they have been linked, meaning if the system has a field that says city of birth or state of birth, and the form has the same country of birth, city of birth, it will transfer because they have been mapped or linked. They're connected. Okay, so as long as you have data in here, it's going to transfer to the form. Now, if I want to change something, I can change the information manually, but if it's something that you're going to change on every single form, don't do it this way. This is a big no-no. Why? Because you're going to have to keep changing it over and over again, and it defeats the purpose of having the system. So the best approach or the best practice is to change the value here directly in the database so that every form is updated. And that's why I like to have them side by side. So I can simply switch, change it here. Let's say the correct date of birth was 1980, and I'll just save the changes, go back to the form, and refresh the form. When I say refresh, I don't mean the browser because that's going to close the form and you lose the, you risk losing data. So here I can click on the red button, select, replace, and then I click on the name of the person that I am working with. In this case, Valeria, the petitioner, this belongs to her. So I'm going to refresh and look, now the date of birth was updated. If I must change something on the form, but I don't want to change her actual mailing address. I want to put the PO box number. Then it makes sense to just change it here so that our PO box number appears under the mailing address and not her actual address, if that makes sense. So yes, you can overwrite, and if you make a mistake and you want to fix it, there's a yellow bar on top that says to restore the value, click here. So it's like your undo button. Okay, every time that you override, as you can see, it's turning blue. That's because I am overriding what came through from the profile. But again, if I want to restore, I can just click on the field and click over here on the top. To restore the value, click here. You may also utilize these tools over here on the top black bar. If I click on this square, I can create a note. For example, please confirm your date of birth. I love this feature because I can leave questions or comments, observations for my team, myself, or my clients. Okay, especially if you are working with multiple attorneys, you want to work on the form and share the form with the attorney with your questions and observations here. Okay, these post-its, you can add as many as needed. And of course, if you want to print the form without the sticky notes, you simply uncheck the option and print without them. The next item or tool I want to show you is this one. It looks like a keyboard. It's called Type Anywhere. And as the name says, you can type anywhere. You just type and you can drag and drop the text anywhere you want to leave it. Some attorneys utilize it to avoid creating an addendum or simply to add text anywhere on the form without, handwriting on it. Let's talk about when you have text and it doesn't fit. If you exceed the limit, the system is developed to shrink it. It's going to reduce the size of the font automatically. But if you exceed, it also creates the addendum. Actually, let me show you. If you want to manually change the size of the font, you click on this A, and then you change the size, so maybe from 11 to 7. So it's going to reduce the size. Or if you keep typing, obviously it has to be legible, so we cannot make it smaller than that. When you exceed the limit, that's when you create, well, the system creates the additional pages. It auto-populates the info with the corresponding numbers. And again, instead of overriding this, the best approach is to simply switch to the profile and change it here. So I'll just go to the employment section and change it here. So it's a lot easier. And if you click on edit, this is where you can modify and select, well, I don't want to transfer these, or maybe not this one, or maybe not, additional. These are just tests. So I can just select the data that I want to transfer to the additional pages, and the system auto-populates the corresponding numbers too. Let me know if you guys have any questions, okay? What else? If you leave blank spaces, well, before I show you that, keep in mind some of these questions are dynamic. Like 11, it says, is your current mailing address the same as your physical address? If you answer yes, then you don't need to provide the address again. If you answer no, that's when we transfer the address. So just be careful or just be aware of that the reason why sometimes data doesn't transfer is because of that. I'll show you another example. Let's say that now I am done with the form and I want to replace blank spaces with NA. So I clicked on this icon that looks like a magic wand and I select what says replace this with this. So I'll just put replace blank with NA. And it goes throughout the form and finds any blank spaces that you left and it populates with NA. Okay, it's the same tool if you guys want to, oops, I don't know what I did. I broke it. Oh, there we go. It's the same tool that allows you to change everything to all caps. So if you guys prefer to show the form with everything, all caps, just think, keep in mind the type anywheres do not apply. So you would have to change this manually. Okay. All right. Let me know if you guys have any questions about the form tools and how to auto-populate the forms. I will be very happy to show you any tricks, but I need to know if you guys have any questions. In fact, let's see. How many of you are new users, or if this is a refresher course for you? I'm waiting for the rest of the participants to vote. I'm actually surprised. I thought the majority of you were going to be new, and it's in fact the opposite. The majority is an existing user. Awesome. Well, go ahead and ask me questions. I am ready. Remember, today's topic is just the basic steps plus a Q&A. In the meantime, while you send those questions, I will read some of them that you sent me. Let me. Okay, so the first question was basic overview on how to use Cerenade. Well, that's pretty much what I covered so far, which was the 3 basic steps. Next question was process steps. All right, so let's talk about that. Your process steps is your workflow. Let me make sure you guys are seeing my screen. Okay. Anytime you create a matter or a case and you go to your process steps, ideally you want to have these by default, although you can always modify and add process steps anyways on a case by case basis. But remember I told you about the administrator portal. Make sure that you save time by customizing your processes so that anytime you create a matter, you don't have to do this manually again. Now let's go over how to use these process steps. Well, the first thing I recommend is modifying all of them at once instead of one by one, meaning, look, if I click select edit, it's only this step and I have to enter the start date. But my suggestion is if you click modify, then you see all the steps at once and then it's a lot easier to plan ahead. So I see here I've got to, send questionnaire. All right, so I'm going to start today. It shouldn't take me more than 1 day to do that. So my target date is on the 26th. Who's going to do it? So I select myself. That means that I am delegating this task for this person, this caseworker. And now the caseworker knows what needs to be done and when, the target date. If the caseworker forgets to complete the task, then the system sends an email. If I don't select a caseworker, everyone will get an email. So let's say it's time for us to send the contract via templates to the client and it's due on the 27th. If we don't mark this box completed or there's no end date, the system thinks, well, you haven't done it, and it's going to send an email to all of these individuals right here. Okay, unless of course you select, let's say Kevin, then Kevin is the one who gets that email on the 27th. I hope that makes sense. When you complete a task, again, for example, this one is due on Sunday. He's not gonna be, I can change that for Monday. And let's say again, he is done with the task. As you saw, as soon as you enter the end date, it creates the next one. So it's like a waterfall effect. And if, of course, the box is checked because it's done, it's completed. So now again, as long as you have the start date and the number of days, your time frame, then the system is going to auto-populate the target date or deadline, and you can run reports to know what's been done, what's overdue, what's coming soon. And I also love the fact that you can share the progress with your clients. So based on the progress right here, um, it generates a percentage where you can share. If you want, you can share with your client, maybe both petitioner and beneficiary. And what happens is when your clients log in into their client portal, they can see the progress that you have shared with them. And it's only when you purposely share. They cannot see anything beyond that. And I like the fact that they can see the progress, 18%, 7%. They see the case number. And if they click on that status bar, we show them what steps have been completed, anything that has started, but we don't show them the actual date. Okay, so it's up to you if you want to utilize those process steps to share with your client or keep it internal. But I, again, highly recommend that you utilize these process steps to organize your firm, your practice. Even if you are a solo practitioner, I think it's good to have a reminder when you forget to complete a task. And all of these process steps, um, for example, like this one, send the contract or send a reminder to get the signed contract. This is due tomorrow. When you guys utilize your tickler, you can see all of these tasks, process steps and reminders and expiration dates in one place. This tickler can be customized and it shows your data, or you can show data for all caseworkers. So think of it like your helicopter view, where you have everything in one place. If I want to run a report, hey, show me all of the work permits that expire soon, or simply just utilize the tickler to track, you know, how many employment application or the work permit expire and when, so that you can send them a reminder for renewal, blah, blah, blah. All right, so let's see. Next question. How to send multiple reminders to clients about upcoming appointments and events. Well, let's go over the calendar. When you create an appointment, let's say I'm going to add an appointment for Vanessa, and this is, I don't know, a court hearing. This is customizable too, just so you know. That way you can color coordinate. All right, so let's say the court hearing is on May 1st and it's at 12. I'll just put 12 to 3. See here where it says add notification? Just click on that so that you can notify the client and the attorney maybe an hour before, a day before, half a day before. So you can choose the, how, you know, maybe an hour or 2 hours before the start time. And again, you can just customize the recipients, both caseworker or clients. You simply type the name of the person, select, and now they both get that email reminder. I also suggest that you, when create an appointment, that you link it to the client or the case profile so that you can see that appointment from their profile. Now, if you want more than one reminder, then that's when you create the reminder right here. Go to reminder and add the reminder. You can add more than one, but you have to do it manually for every reminder. It could be sent via text message if you have that module, or email. And then again, you can select more than one party, as well as choosing the template. So I recommend using this. And lastly, one thing that I must say, let me take you back to the case. All of you have access to this module or feature. It's called activities. I don't know if you have seen it or used it before, but it's related to the process steps. So the idea is that we automate as much as possible, right? And one way of doing it is by creating an activity like this one. It says, send reminder to receive signed agreement. Well, I can create an activity for when it's time for me to send that reminder. Instead of me doing it, I want the system to send an email or send a text message. So I can choose that to be triggered, I guess, when I decide, when the process step is completed, or maybe a day after I complete the step, etc. So you can schedule an action. It could be send an email, send a questionnaire, add a note, um, send a text message. So you can schedule that and you can just check the box and it will go out. I believe like this one, I was supposed to call the client for follow-up and I marked that completed as if I did it today. And my activity, let's take a look, was when I complete the step, add a note so that I don't have to write a log that says I did call the client for follow-up. So that means that if I go here into the logs, right there, it says call client for follow-up and it's done by the system activity. Okay. All right. Let me see. Someone has a question. Question regarding billing. When sending a client an invoice along with the link via eIMMIGRATION, how can I be the only person to get notifications about payments made? Caseworkers are not supposed to get notifications about payments. Thank you. That's a great question. In theory, if you go to the users and the admin, you can block billing from caseworkers. So if I have, let's say, a receptionist or a paralegal, and I don't want them to access billing, I just block it right here. Billing, invoice, anything that has to do with billing, it should be blocked. Now, if they are not blocked, they will get the notifications and they can create an invoice or look at an invoice. I can ask our developers how to control those notifications to be directed to one person. Do me a favor, and because I don't want to forget, but if you can do me a favor and click on the top right corner where it says help, go to feedback and technical support and send them that question because I want to double check with the dev team if that's something that either you have to enable or prevent, just like what I said by blocking the access rights, or even if it's blocked, are they getting these notifications? If so, then that's a bug. Thank you so much for asking your questions. That's what we're here for. um, Next question. Oh, actually, someone asked everything that has to do with billing. That's literally the question. Let me show you. Everything that has to do with billing. All right, so let's, I'll cover as much as I can regarding billing. First of all, if you are subscribed to billing, you must go into your admin and create your billing items. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to create an invoice. And I also recommend that you create at least one item that's more generic, something like this, modify or edit description. You're going to change the amount anyways, but that way you can have at least one item to start creating your invoices. And the second thing is also, as I said, the users. When you create an account for a user, make sure that when you give them permission to log in, that you set the access rights, what's allowed or what's blocked. So again, if it's blocked, they're not going to be able to create an invoice. Second of all, when you here, let's go to a case. When you create an invoice, you must first add the expenses. So you click billing, expenses and charges, and you're going to add the expense. See here, based on the process, I am showing a predefined list of items. Sometimes you don't see that. It will show 0 records found. So just select no process, which gives you all billing items, And that's when you're gonna see that generic or yeah, like a general item. Just gonna use this one that says Gen. I'm gonna click, so I select and I click add expenses at the bottom. And now I can modify it. If you click select edit, you can change the description and say, well, this was for the adjustment of status, ajuste de status. I don't know, we're gonna give them 10% discount. And it's usually, I don't know, just say 7,000 and we're gonna put 0.90 to show the 10% discount. The expense date was 2 weeks ago when they signed the contract. Anyway, so now I show the extended price. They're getting 100 credit from the consultation. And now the total expense would be 6,200. Let me know if that makes sense. But this will be kind of like step number one. And then you go to invoices to add the invoice. So who's going to pay? The petitioner or the beneficiary? And what am I including in that invoice? And then just click add. Once I create the invoice, which by the way, your logo can be placed there. If you haven't added your logo, I suggest you do. It's in the admin under application settings, go to branding. It has to be 300 by 70 pixels in GIF format only. So my invoice has the information that I need with the due date. In fact, I have my predefined or, the notes by default. For cell payments, do this, or send your checks to this PO box number, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I can change this, but I cannot change the amount. If I notice that I did something wrong, then I must change the expenses. Once I am done, I click save. Give me one quick second because then I'll forget, but I want to report this to our team. Invoice. Okay. All right, so let's save. Please send me your questions. All right, so here's the invoice. I will close it. And now I see that they owe 6,200, which out of that, they're paying me. So I'm gonna add a payment. They're paying me cash or check or a cell, Square, whatever you guys use. You can just hit other. But let's say for this one, they paid 2,500 as the initial payment, and they gave me the cash on Monday. So I add the payment. Trust me, this is gonna save you a lot of trouble because now everything is in writing, and both you and the client and the staff or whoever's allowed to see this, they see the total invoice amount, total payments, and the balance. Out of that balance, we can create a payment plan. So this client can give me 500 every 1 month, starting on, I'll say May 15. So every 15 of the month, she's going to pay 500. And I want the system to send her an email notifying, like reminding her about the due date. Maybe I can change that number here. If you guys have the credit card processing module and you want to connect your LawPay or PayPal account, then do so that you can also include a link and they can pay online. Even better, if they give you their credit card info or ACH and you can schedule the payment automatically, that's great. All right, so that's how you create a payment plan. And let me show you something. If my client, let's say she sends through Zelle, I don't know, 250 before May 15. All right, so I got it today. Look at this. Obviously, the balance is less, but I want to show you the invoice second page. The first page you saw already, but let me show you the second page. It has a payment history. And I love this because everything's organized. I see the type of payment, any reference notes, the amounts, the dates, who processed the payment, and it updates the payment plan details, which means that by the 15th of May, now she has to give me just 250. So I can print this or email it. Excuse me. All right, so that's that. Also, of course, related to billing, since you asked me to cover everything about billing, it's the reports. You have a report for billing related info. One of them is show me invoices with a pending balance. And yeah, I think this is great because I can see who owes me when since when, and I can just follow up. I don't know if you noticed that, but every time that I open an account that owes me money, let's say I'm the receptionist and I have no idea about, billing, but at least I get this warning or pop-up window. It's an alert. It says that she has overdue invoices. So I highly recommend that if you guys want to trigger those pop-up windows or alerts, you create them as a global alert and just select advanced, maybe let's say warning, I don't know, invoices are overdue. And then just save it so that you get this warning alert for any overdue invoices. You could also see for like conflict of interest, if you guys do VAWA, for example, this client has an adverse client or adverse party member linked. So you get that warning too. Okay, let me see if you guys have any questions at this point. Please vote. I'm waiting for the rest of the participants to vote on the screen. So once I have more than 50, oh, there we go. Okay. All right, so 6% said I'll submit them later to ECMS, which is our support. So if you guys have questions or any technical issues, just go to technical support and send your message through here, or any feedback that you like or dislike. This actually goes directly to developers and management. All right, so let's go over your resources and support. You can contact us Monday through Friday. Let me make sure you guys are seeing my screen again. Good. So you can call us Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Pacific Standard Time. We're in LA, except on holidays. That's our phone number. So you can either write it down, take a screenshot, better yet, download my PowerPoint. You could email us 24/7. Again, that's 24/7, but it's email. So just wait. We are pretty quick at responding emails. That's sometimes the fastest way. You could also click on your home screen, and it's the same thing as sending an email. So just go to technical support and send your message. As I said, you could also send your feedback to developers. And the user's guide has a lot of resources, either quick videos or step-by-step instructions. So take advantage of that. We do these webinars for free. Just so you know, this might be the last one that we do through GoToWebinar. We're starting on switching to Zoom. It's going to be the same process. You're going to register to the webinar, but instead of using GoToWebinar, we might use Zoom. Okay. And the same thing, we're going to be recording, sharing the PowerPoint, etc. So these webinars are free. Again, Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, except on holidays. We even have a podcast. It's called Cerenade Snacks. And we have a forum page on Facebook where you can register and read what other attorneys are asking. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, it's called eIMMIGRATION Academy, and I put the links right here so that you guys can access faster. Um, and that's it. I mean, if you guys have any questions before we disconnect, I'll wait a couple more minutes. If you have to go, thank you so much for attending today's webinar. I hope that you learned something new. We appreciate your time. Happy Friday, everyone. Don't forget to download the PowerPoint and contact our team if you have any questions. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. All right, thank you again for attending today's webinar. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.